Hey Divi Nation, thank you for joining us in this live stream, and today I will show you how to create animated titles with Divi's hover options, and we're going to use the driving school layout pack. So if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure that you do. I've mentioned a link in the description below, and if you're not an Elegant Themes member yet, make sure that you check out Divi. I've mentioned a link to the product page where you can go ahead and discover everything for yourself. And without any further ado, let's get to it. All right, so let's start off by taking a look at the driving school layout pack. So this is the overall look and feel that you can expect from it. Very clean, very modern, and it has a lot of layouts available as well. And if you want to take a look at these layouts without actually having to install them on your website, you can simply go to elegantthemes.com/layouts, and over here you will find all of the different layout packs. And if you scroll down, you'll come across the driving school layout pack over here, and you can join to download or view the live demo by clicking on the blue button, and this will redirect you to a live website where you can go ahead and discover all of these layouts and use them on your website. Okay, so let's get started. So in this tutorial, we're going to show you how to create animated titles on Hover. And let me just show you the end result. So we have two examples that we're going to recreate from scratch. And this is the first example. So we have this heading over here. And if you hover it, it gives you a call to action. And same goes with this example. If you hover it, you have three options that people can click on and go to a certain part of the website or a certain part of the page, so you can add anchors to that as well. And this is just a nice way to trigger action. So let's get started. So the first thing you will need to do is obviously use the driving school layout pack, and we're using the landing page. So this is the page before we've made modifications to it. So go ahead and install this layout on one of your pages, and then go ahead and enable the visual builder at the top. All right, so let me just once again show you what the end result is. So I'm just going to keep that close by so you can compare it throughout this tutorial. So this is the first example. So we have a very fast transition going on over here. And then the other one over here is a little more subtle. And so just to be clear, we're adding these with additional CTAs on Hover. So this is a great way to, catch the attention of your visitors. So let's get started. So the first thing you will need to do over here is change the gradient background. So over here we have a dark one. So the call to action is more readable and all of that. So we're going to change that. And we're going to use the following two color codes over here. So you can find all of the steps that we'll go through in the blog post, which I've mentioned in the description below as well. Or you can follow along this video and pause whenever you need to. But if you want to find all of the color codes and all of that, you can simply go to the blog post and copy them over there. So the next thing that we'll need to do is we're going to remove some rows over here. So we'll create this end result, and we'll remove these two rows to achieve that end result. And then we're going to keep this one, and we're simply going to change the divider alignment to center by going to the sizing options over here and selecting center module alignments. All right, so now we can start adding our new row, and we're going to use one column. And before we add any modules, we're going to open the row settings and make some adjustments. So first of all, I'm going to remove the custom padding that's there by default by adding 0 pixels to the top and bottom padding over here. And then we can start adding the text module. So we're going to use one text module, and we're going to hide a part of that text module before you hover, and then hide that part of the text module once you hover. So this is the same text module, but we're simply hiding the text that is shown by default or on Hover using Divi's built-in options. So go ahead and add a text module to your row. And to make everything happen smoothly, we're going to use different text styles. So this is the heading. So we're using heading 1 over here, and this is going to be the default text, and then we have a paragraph, or you can assign a heading to that as well if you want to. And we're also going to place a link behind this paragraph. So as you can see over here, it's highlighted, and you can just add your URL over here, and you can change the copy, of course, as well. So this is what you initially get, and then we'll start modifying everything using Divi's built-in options. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a default background color. And I'm going to enable the hover option over here by clicking on this icon, and we'll start with the default background color. And this is the one. So we're using a fully transparent color, and then we're going to the hover options over here, and we'll add this orange kind of color that we've used throughout the entire layout pack. So we're making this match with the layout pack, but feel free to use any colors or additional settings if you want to. All right, so then we'll go to the design tab, and we're going to enable center text orientation over here. And then we'll make some changes to the link text. So if I hover this over here, you will see the text being highlighted. So this is the part that we're going to modify, and this is going to be the text that appears on hover. So it says, yes, let's start planning my driving lessons today. And over here you can see that this is the link text style. All right, so we're going to use an ultra bold font weight. We're also going to enable uppercase, italic, and we're also going to add a subtle underline. And we're going to use the following color code for the underline. And then we're going to adjust the link text size and the link line height, and these are going to be different on by default and on hover. So I'm going to enable this hover option over here, and first of all add 0 pixels to the text size. So as you can see, it disappears because we're not using any pixels for it, so it doesn't have any way to show up. And then I'm also going to enable the hover option to the link line height, and I'm going to do the same thing over here just to reduce the space that's being taken up by that text by default. So it looks like it isn't there, but it actually is. It only appears on hover. And then I'm going to switch over to hover modus over here, and I'm going to add some other values. So I'm going to use 40 pixels for the text size on hover, and I'm also going to use 1.8 for the line height. All right, so let me just switch over really quick so you can see the difference. This is the hover state, and this is what you get by default. So we've gotten rid of the link text size without it being hovered on. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're also going to change the text color, and that doesn't matter if you don't actually have to enable the hover option over here because we're using 0 pixels for the text size anyways, so it's not going to appear, so the text color doesn't really matter. But you can enable the hover option and make it transparent by default, for instance, but we're not going to do that because it's not really necessary. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to modify the heading text settings, and we're using a heading 1, and this is the end result that we have over here. So to achieve that, we're going to use ultra bold as the heading font weight, and we're going to enable uppercase. We'll use a white text color, and we're going to change the text size according to the screen size. And we're going to use 70 pixels on desktop, 40 on tablet, and 30 for mobile. And then we'll also adjust the line height to 1.4. And of course, we're going to make some changes on hover. So first of all, we'll change the heading text color and then the text size as well. So we're using a fully transparent color on hover. So this is what I was talking about in the previous settings that we've added. But here we're going to make this apply. And then I'm also going to change the text size to 0 and hover. So it's not really necessary that you change this heading text color, but it does give a little difference in the transition because you will see it going from a transparent color to a white color. And we'll add 0 pixels on hover for the heading text size. So, and now we have this result up until now. And now we're just going to add some extra settings to make it look a little bit more appealing. So we'll add some spacing to the top and the bottom and left and right side. So we're adding 40 pixels to the top and to the bottom as well. And 20 pixels to the left and the right side. And those 20 pixels will just make sure that it looks good on smaller screen sizes as well. It doesn't really apply to desktop. It doesn't make a change over here. So we're not going to make it apply to different screen sizes individually. We'll just add it to the default settings because it doesn't make a difference anyways. And then we'll change these spacing values on hover. So let's just switch back, for instance, over here. So you can make these, appear differently, but it's not really necessary, but you can, for instance, add a little bit more padding or, shrink it a little bit, but I'm just going to increase it to 60 pixels over here. Then we'll also add a border. And we're going to use 10 pixels. We'll make it apply to the entire module, as you can see. And let me just add that really quick. Again, use that color from the layout pack, but feel free to use whatever colors you want. So once you add the border, you can definitely see the difference in spacing. So I'm just going to go back over here, and I'm going to reduce this a little bit. So I'm just going to give it 0 pixels to the bottom. Looks better. All right. And then we'll just change the transition as well. So over here, so I'm just going to show you what the transition looks like right now. So this is the speed that you have. And over here, I've removed it entirely, but that's up to you. So you can definitely play around with that transition. I'm also going to show you what it looks like if it's an increased transition. So let me just take 850, for instance. And so this is a little bit more smooth, depending on how you like it. You can play around with all of these settings. I have used no transition duration at all. All right, so this is the end result that we're getting. And of course, I'll have to exit the Visual Builder for it to function. All right, so this is the first example. Looks really good. And let's enable the Visual Builder and switch over to the second example as well. All right, so this is the second example that we're going to create. This is a little bit more smooth. So we have a title over here, and once you hover it, so it actually asks a question, how can we help? And then we're offering 3 options over here, which they can click on. Of course, you will need to add an anchor link or another page to these links if you want to refer them to the right place on your website. All right, so let's get started. So over here, we will need a new section, and right below the hero section over here, we're going to add a regular section. And then without adding any rows or sections yet, we're going to open the section settings, and we're going to add a background color. And then we'll go to the spacing settings, and over here, we're going to add some additional values. So we're going to add some margin, some bottom margin, 100 pixels, and we're going to add 200 pixels to the right over here. And we'll also make some modifications for tablet and phone. So we're using 100 for the right here instead, and 50 pixels on phone. So this gets pushed to the left a little bit, as you can see over here, and we're just decreasing the value that we're entering to make sure that you know, that it still looks good, because 200 pixels for tablet and phone is a little bit too much. And then we'll also add some top and bottom padding. All right. And we'll also add a box shadow. So we're going to use the following option over here, and we'll change the horizontal position, the vertical one as well. We'll decrease the spread strength. And we're going to use that same orangey color for the shadow. All right, so we have these settings in place. Let's start adding rows and modules. So we're going to need one column only. And again, we're going to apply the same method that we did over here. So we're using the same text module with different text styles to allow us to have a different view on hover and by default. So let's add a text module. And I'm going to add some content over here. As you can see, we're using a heading 3 and links over here. So you can link these bullet points over here to different pages or sections on your page. And the next thing we're going to do is change the link text settings. So again, if I hover here, you will see it being highlighted on the page. And we're going to add an underline, and the link text color is going to be black. And black color over here as well. And we're going to adjust the text size. So we're again applying the same kind of approach. We're using 0 pixels on desktop, but this will show up on tablet and phone. So we're using 20 pixels over here and 30 pixels for phone. And then we'll also change the link line height for the different screen sizes. So we're using 0 for desktop and 1.8 for tablet and phone. And then we'll also add the hover options over here to both of these. So we're using 30 pixels on hover, and we're using 2.8 for the line height. And then we'll go to the heading text settings over here. So we're using a heading 3, and we're going to make the heading font weight ultra bold. We're enabling uppercase over here, and we're adjusting the text size according to the screen size. So we're using 30 pixels for desktop and 20 pixels for tablet and phone. So the difference between these two initially is the fact that the text that appears by default disappears once you hover, and over here we're keeping it. So you can keep it if you want to, so that could be great as well actually. So over here actually we're not keeping it, but you could do that, and I'll show you the difference if you keep it or if you don't. And then we'll also add hover over here, and so this is what you have if you don't add 0 pixels over here. So you can keep it that way as well, but we're going to add 0 pixels. We'll get rid of the title on hover. But if you want to keep the title, you can easily do that by just not adding 0 pixels on hover. All right, and then we'll go to the spacing settings, and we'll add some custom values. So we're adding 40 pixels to the top, 50 pixels to the left. And then we'll add a hover left margin over here of 200 pixels. So let me just show you the difference. And this just pushes the text a little bit to the right. But you can play around with all of these values to make it look exactly the way you want to. If you don't want to push it to the right that much, just decrease the value. You know, it's up to you. And then we'll also add a border. So we're using a left border of 5 pixels. And again, we're using that orangey color that matches the layout pack. And we're going to remove it on a hover. So this is going to be 0 pixels. So now we only have it when it's not being hovered, and it disappears once you hover it. And then we'll change the transition. We'll just add a slightly more smooth transition over here. We'll add 500 and we're done. All right, so let me just save the page and exit the visual builder so you can take a look at the end result of the second example as well. So here we have the first one and here we have the second one. So you can create all kinds of variations. So go ahead and play around with the text sizes on hover, with the text styles of modules, and that way you can achieve stunning results. All right, that was it for this live stream. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're liking all of this content that we're bringing and you want to share your own knowledge and skills, make sure that you check out one of the links in the description below and find out how you can contribute to the Elegant Themes blog. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in our next live stream or video.